AFC Asian Cup is the world's third largest football tournament. Every 4 years, the continent's 16 top teams battle it out to claim the title of Asia's best football team. The 2015 tournament was organised by the Asian Football Confederation in conjunction with the Football Federation Australia, World Sport Group, Australian government agencies and local organising committee. 32 matches were held in 23 days. 650,000 people attended games in the 5 Australian host cities. Among the crowds of football fans were 17 delegates from the Supreme Committee for Delivery and Legacy, Ministry of Interior, Qatar Stars League and Qatar Football Association.
The Supreme Committee is putting on the observation programs so that we can either introduce or add expertise to all of you to bring back to Qatar.
The delegates were given a football fan's experience of the AFC Asian Cup, from their arrival in Sydney to transport to the stadium and the atmosphere inside the venue. The delegates flew into Sydney International Airport, which welcomes more than 35 million passengers annually.
That give me the experience for how we can manage the people coming for any bigger event in this country.
Marketing and promotion activities were key areas of observation for many of the delegates. On their journey from the airport, delegates were on the lookout for AFC Asian Cup promotional materials.
I know a lot of people watch it, like Qatar. It's wherever you go, you will see talking about the Australian Asian game. But the country itself who holding that game, they're not promoting it very well.
The local organising committee, or LOC, focused its promotional activities in high pedestrian traffic areas, including Martin Place, a key retail and commercial precinct in the Sydney city centre. Another key promotional hub was the AFC Asian Cup Football Fan Park at Customs House Circular Quay, a famous tourist destination which sees 40 million visitors annually. At the fan park, visitors participated in a number of activities, all of which were free of charge. Organised fan groups bring large numbers of visitors to events such as the World Cup. They're an important link between international fans and event organisers. Delegates heard from Australia's largest organised sporting fan group, the Fanatics, about what Australian football fans want when they travel to a World Cup.
A good 75% will go to the group stage, the first 2 weeks of the tournament, and that will be their World Cup experience.
The Fanatics has 50,000 members. They've arranged flights, accommodation and ticketing for members to 3 World Cups. At the 2010 FIFA World Cup South Africa, 1,000 Fanatics used a cricket stadium in Durban for accommodation, setting up tents on the oval.
It's a concept that we would love to be able to bring to Qatar.
Over 70% of Fanatics members seek out cheaper accommodation options when attending the World Cup, either camping or 3-star. Public transport was another key area of focus for delegates on the Sydney Observation Tour. They took the opportunity to experience Sydney's rail network by catching a train to the Qatar versus Bahrain match at Stadium Australia.
I enjoy actually the transportation was actually very awesome, well organized and actually prepared for a big event.
Match ticket holders were able to print their tickets at home. That ticket included free public transport to the Asian Cup game they were attending.
Yeah, it was a perfect idea. So if anyone gets a ticket for a match or any competition, so he got the access and the transportation included. This is a good idea to be transferred to Qatar.
The train station was well signed and delegates found their way to the correct platform quickly.
It was a good experience. From our hotel to here, it took us about 20 minutes. The distance even from the pop-up from the station to the stadium, it's nothing, maybe less than a kilometer. With this good weather, you just can't feel it.
The Stadium Australia train station was a short walk to the stadium itself. This final leg of the journey provided an excellent pedestrian corridor for sponsor activations.
There will definitely be an adjustment required in Qatar because the culture and the habit in there is to use your own car to go from one location to another.
The insights provided by Transport Sydney Trains gave delegates invaluable information about effective movement of large numbers of passengers during an event.
One of the lessons that we learnt was not just to match the demand based on ticket sales. You've got a venue. The venue has overflow areas. So if the venue holds 100,000, you must assume that you're going to sell every ticket.
Prior to the Olympics, the rail authorities worked with government agencies to get approval for procedural changes so they could keep the trains running on time.
We had in excess of 100 contingency plans, from business continuity to total shutdowns, to the road network being absolutely cluttered, right through to the rail network stopping. And let me tell you, you never want to bring them into place at all.
A simple yet effective crowd movement idea was the organised loading and unloading of passengers at the busiest stations during the Sydney Olympics.
What we were able to do is separate people arriving to come out the middle and people departing to come out on the outsides.
The plans they presented are very well, and we need to pass it to the rail authority there in Qatar, Qatar Rail, so they can get the knowledge transferred.
Sydney Olympic Park is home to not only Stadium Australia, but also an indoor arena, the Sydney Showground, an aquatic centre, and large areas of parkland. Combined, the venues host more than 5,000 events each year, including the final of the AFC Asian Cup 2015. Outside Stadium Australia, there was a mix of activation activities aimed to appeal to all ages. Volunteers were present at information booths to assist fans. The AFC Asian Cup had 1,300 people volunteer their time for the tournament across the 5 host cities.
The volunteers don't just come and volunteer in the event. They actually know what to do, and they actually have an experience and have good training.
Security and ticketing methods were tested by delegates from a spectator perspective. Spectators who needed to collect tickets could do so outside the stadium at designated ticket booth sites. Once they had their tickets, fans then went through the stadium security process.
The security team had set up 2 tables with sufficient distance between the tables and the turnstiles, allowing to not have a congestion when the people would come and get checked. But they also organized 2 express lanes on both sides of the tables, allowing people with no bags direct access to the venue and the turnstiles.
Fans were checked by handheld scanning machines. Each ticket had a unique barcode, which was scanned before the spectator was allowed entry to the stadium. Stadium Australia divided the crowd to 5,000 fans per gate to prevent crowded entrances.
There is one thing that we still we are not good at it, is the entrance of the spectators. It's very organized here. Everyone knows where to go and where to sit.
Each seat was allocated and numbered. Volunteer ushers checked the ticket and assisted fans to their assigned seat.
We came to know that this big stadium that can host up to 83,000 can be evacuated within 7 minutes, which is really amazing, for such a big stadium with many people.
The atmosphere inside the stadium was loud yet safe. Fans were not segregated, and there were no major security issues reported.
This particular participant group had a strong focus again on security matters. So they wanted to see security plans, they wanted to hear about the relationship between government levels of security and operational levels of security in the tournament.
Prior to the Qatar versus Iran match at Stadium Australia, delegates were given access to stadium security operations.
There's about 150, 160 security staff that are here employed tonight. And tonight for this event, we've got round about 30 police officers here. So then that varies, of course, depending on the crowd numbers and the risk assessment.
Inside Stadium Australia, private security staff controlled the event, with guards patrolling the stadium as well as on the field of play. At kickoff -5 hours, all teams at the venue wore radio earpieces and communicated via this channel. If confidential information was shared, it was done via a secured radio channel or mobile phone.
At the venue level, there's a control room, including key stakeholders from all the security entities who are connected to the main operations center, which is located at the AFC headquarters.
Security was divided into 3 tiers: federal authorities, state police, and private security operations.
The stadium security responsible of the tickets, the order inside the stadium, and the maintenance and the movement of the audience inside the stadium. The police is just there just to, if the security of the stadium need backup, then they do.
So yeah, that's how it works. So Commonwealth, the jurisdictions, and then local security. Everyone's got defined roles in those tiers. We all work together.
A risk assessment was conducted prior to each match, and security requirements adjusted accordingly during a security briefing at the stadium on match days.
So I took some risk management plan with me. It will be very helpful for us also when I come back to my country.
The delegates viewed key elements including team facilities, referees' facilities, accreditation processes, and the media centre. The accreditation centre was located outside Stadium Australia. Its busiest period was prior to the event, as journalists arrived to cover the tournament. All stadium staff also had their accreditation processed at this location.
The accreditation centre is set up in 4 different areas. So the first one is the registration area, where you present yourself with your ID and then they check whether you're in the system. If you're in the system, you then proceed to the waiting area, to where you're called to collect your card. So from there you'll go and then move into the photo capture area, where they will pull up your card, take your photo, and that's put onto the card, and then you come to what's here, which is the accreditation collection centre.
The accreditation pass worked on a system of numbered zones.
From a security point of view, it's very helpful when someone turns up at an access control point, and really all we need to do is look at the number, and the security guard on the door knows that all he's looking for is a number 5 or a number 7.
When arriving at the stadium, teams had their own entry point underneath the stadium, with direct access to dressing rooms.
Each dressing room is composed of 25 spots allocated to each of the 23 players and coaching staff. Both teams are provided with the exact same requirements, which is 20 kilos of ice, an ice bath, and any additional requests have to go through the competition manager.
Each dressing room also had side rooms for medical use, such as physiotherapy and massage. But it's not just the players who need training and dressing room facilities. Referees also must be catered for as part of the tournament. The 70 AFC Asian Cup referees had their own private training facilities in Sydney. The training ground was secured and blocked from public view.
A couple of things to note about the venue. We've got a little marquee and a camera stand over there. Referees video their training so they can do some analysis, and the marquee is so they can view the screen with the sun.
The referees used Sydney as their base throughout the tournament. They were accommodated at their own hotel, separate from players and the main operations centre, or MOC. As many of the venues were multi-use, the LOC had to manage the interests of football with those of the other stadium users. The LOC called upon external consultants, Sports Turf Research Institute, to manage the pitches. Sports Turf Research Institute assisted FIFA and the LOC in Brazil in 2014, as well as partnering on other major UEFA and CAF tournaments.
As far as turf management goes, we had a series of checkpoints every couple of months where STRI would go out and do a report to assess the management, the performance of the pitch. They were in regular contact also with the ground staff or curator at each stadium to understand what their plans were for the preparation of the pitch leading into the tournament.
Stadium Australia converted a large dining area into the media centre. The area was adjusted to meet the needs of the event with overlay and temporary infrastructure. Located next door to the media centre was the press conference room, which had permanent staging and lighting. The media tribune was beside the media centre, giving journalists direct access to view the playing field. With a record television audience of more than 1 billion people for the AFC Asian Cup 2015, broadcasting is becoming ever more central to football events.
The world feed, the bit that you see on television mostly, just filming the matches and pumping it out on a satellite to the world, that's the easy bit. That's the easy bit. The hard bit is the unilaterals, is all of those broadcasters coming in and wanting to customise that feed for their own purposes.
To gather more information about broadcasting, delegates visited the studios of SBS, the network that holds the rights for the 2018 FIFA World Cup Russia. During 2014 FIFA World Cup Brazil, SBS broadcast each game in multiple languages to reach the largest possible audience.
We have
like different nationalities, and we have to talk to all of them, not only focus in like Arabic or Arabic and English only.
SBS told the delegates that host broadcasters need studio backdrops which look impressive both day and night, avoiding issues related to time zone differences.
What we would like to work with the LSE to do is to get some content and to get some information, create the buzz and create the message about what Qatar 2022 will be like.
One of the key takeaways that I took away from this presentation was that they wanted as much information as possible about our country as early as possible.
The MOC was located at an inner-city hotel and was also the headquarters of the AFC. The MOC always had a federal government representative present, relaying information to relevant government agencies.
The rationale behind having a main operations centre is having a main hub. So the group that's inside the room, is basically our central source of truth for the tournament.
The MOC was only called on to make 5% of decisions during the tournament, with 95% of the decisions made on the ground to keep operations running smoothly.
There is a match coordination meeting at match day -1, whereby team representatives as well as AFC and LOC are meeting and reviewing a whole schedule of important deliverables. After this, there's also a distribution of what we call a daily run sheet, recapping all the major milestones from kickoff -12 hours up until, I would say, 3 hours after the end of the game.
The AFC Asian Cup, MOC and LOC had a strict daily reporting schedule aimed at highlighting any issues across venues or the competition in general.
Every day we receive not just reports from every stadium and host city, but we receive a second report from every functional area. So you'll get, for example, we'll get a report for Stadium Australia here in Sydney, and there'll be a security component to that report. But we'll also get a report from our head of security across every venue, every city, all security matters that are happening of note.
If there was an issue at any venue, the incident was recorded in the daily report, and that information was formally communicated to other venues.
What I would love to hear more about is what are the ways that we can share information as fast as possible.
21 government agencies from federal and state government had a role in supporting the AFC Asian Cup, including Immigration, Customs, Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet, Department of Finance, Federal Police, Australian Security Intelligence Organisation. The delegates met with representatives from many of these agencies. A key message of all presenters to the delegation from Qatar was the importance of open and clear communication.
The internal communication should be prior enough in the time before the kickoff. Take your time. It's okay to be early than being late. So that should be the secret word we've been learned here in Australia. Planning, and coordinating.
Despite holding large international events in the past, a number of legislative and regulatory changes needed to be put in place prior to the AFC Asian Cup.
What we actually created for the Asian Cup was a piece of legislation that will protect the Asian Cup, but then will be available into the future for other events. So genuine legacy for Australia in terms of attracting future events.
Authorities needed laws to deal with ticket scalpers, aerial ambush marketing, and ambush marketing by intrusion.
It was interesting to me that they described especially the intellectual property legislation as a legacy piece of legislation, because that's something that we talk about a lot in the context of Qatar 2022 and creating a legacy for the country, and a lot of people think of that only in terms of having a stadium.
The delegates spent 7 days in Sydney meeting with the LOC, security officials, both state and federal government representatives, broadcast rights holders, as well as attending training and match venues. The observers' main learnings were the importance of clear and efficient communication between government entities, the LOC and the AFC, the benefits of accurate and extensive planning, staff training and response plans in case of an emergency situation, and finally, ways to create long-lasting legacies within the framework of tournament requirements.
This has really been a great experience.
It's a great week, first of all. And it's a fantastic opportunity to be part of this observation mission for the first time.
We've given them the opportunity
Now we've got to ensure that we start to transfer those observations to other people.